I believe that this is a good time of year to kind of go back and cover a few of the basic pieces of equipment that is used in photography. I watched Thomas Heaton's video recently, and he talks about getting his channel back to basics. And to be honest, going back and looking at a few of the books that I have, and kind of studying the basics of photography is something I've been thinking about doing for the last few weeks, because I've not really been happy with what I've been getting recently, photo wise. So I thought that's a good thing maybe to start 2019. I'm not going to do it on this channel, but maybe something that I can do and take the time to do personally myself. It's a great time to talk about some of the basic pieces of equipment in photography, because at this time of year a lot of people will be either getting a camera for the first time or replacing a camera system. Whether you're going from a point and shoot to DSLR or to one of the new mirrorless systems. Again, whether you're replacing the camera that you've been using or it's your first venture into photography, I think it's always good to cover the basics, and I'm going to talk about 6 pieces of equipment. Most of these are really basic pieces of equipment, and I've kind of made some of these comments, some of these points before, but I think it's always good to kind of concentrate them into one video. The first piece of equipment that I'm going to talk about is batteries. When I first started doing photography as an amateur hobbyist photographer, I used to use point and shoot cameras like the Canon PowerShot. I think it was SX150IS, which is a very it just gives a good point and shoot, and it's the one that I used for several years. But mostly due to finances, the batteries that I bought for that camera, because that camera requires 2 AA batteries, and some of the batteries that I bought were not really meant for that kind of thing, so they were drained really quickly. And so I've always kind of been concerned, especially even though that some of the ones that I got were in quite big packs of them, they're still relatively cheap batteries, used up pretty quickly, and it gets annoying. Having to change them quite a regular basis and going through quite a lot of them, and it costs a lot in the end. So I've always kind of been very careful, especially since I got the Canon 1200D a few years ago, and now that I have Sony a7 III, I always made sure I invested in several other extra batteries. I think that's great. Just again, this is a very basic video, but just to have 2 or 3 extra batteries than the one you're using is great, because you may be travelling further afield, going on holiday, even just going outside your normal local area, or you may decide, actually I want to go here, there and there, because I've got a couple of places in Dundee that I want to kind of walk to and go walk around to and take photos of in the coming couple of weeks. And so, not having to constantly check how many batteries you've got left, or what the percentage is or display is on your camera, is you don't need to worry about that kind of stuff. You can get on and photograph what you want to photograph. So having 2 or 3 extra batteries, you've got 4 total of the Z batteries for the a7 III now, and I'll be honest, I have found the battery life for those batteries is really good. I don't need to worry about it. Sometimes the one battery, especially I normally shoot silent with electronic shutter, one battery sometimes does me for an entire wrestling show, which is about 2 to 3 hours, maybe, depending on what the show is and circumstances of the show is. So the battery life is for batteries these days, and obviously these are rechargeable batteries, are far better than they were 4, 5, 6 years ago, which is obviously fantastic. Another very important thing, and something that having takes a lot of the worry about what you're doing and how you're doing it out of the process, is obviously memory cards. When I first started doing using the point and shoot cameras, I was buying really small memory cards, which I think at that stage they weren't the huge ones available there is now, but I was buying like 4 gigabytes, 8 gigabytes. Then I went moved up to 16 gigabytes, and now I've got several, three 64 gigabyte memory cards. I've got in total about 328 gigabyte memory cards, and so, you know, just having that extra space, especially the Sony A7 III, and not every camera has it, and a lot of the people will be going out with their minds in 2018 when some of the new camera systems come out with one single memory card slot. If you have a larger, obviously larger sized memory cards, and some, I think the Nikon Z6 takes an SQD card, which is kind of a bit kind of flatter, but it almost looks like a battery. I'm not sure that it takes traditional SD cards, but because obviously I haven't used that camera, but having those larger card sizes is obviously again something else you don't need to worry about. I mean, and it depends on what you're photographing, what you're shooting. Not everybody does sports, not everybody does action shots, and for in that regard, I did invest in a couple of two UHS 2 SD cards recently. Took advantage of some really cheap offers on that's kind of Cyber Monday, Cyber Friday kind of time recently, and about 128 gigabyte UHS 2 Pro grade card, which I've not really used a huge deal, but it seems quite good, really fast, high write speed, and a 64 gigabyte Lexar professional UHS 2 card. I bought them partly because the Sony A7 III has on slot 1 it's UHS 2 compatible. So actually, not only that you don't need to worry about storage. You have several memory cards and several large memory cards. You don't really need to worry about how many photographs you're taking. Some of these memory cards these days actually unlock the like I think it's 100p or something. The Sony A7 III on video you can only record, certainly in that. I'm not sure exactly what the technical specs are, but you can only really record in the highest quality of 4K if you have a UHS 2 memory card. So the cards are like batteries are getting lasting longer. Cards are getting faster and better all of the time as we see the technology move on. I mean, camera technology. I've been listening to a couple of podcasts, including the Bowery Boys, New York, and photography episode last night. Just they talk about a lot about the camera technology used in those days, and it's just absolute chalk and cheese. Really, when you hear in those podcasts about how they had to take photographs in those, and I think it's the 1800s to compare to obviously 2018-19, the difference in the technology now is just unbelievable, just really unbelievable. So some of these memory cards can unlock again the higher performance of some cameras these days, but again, it's always a good idea. Having several of them, even if they're not 128 gigabytes, 256 gigabytes that some are available, having several of them, again, it takes all that stress out of the process, which is, it's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be enjoyable. If you're especially like myself doing it as a hobby, it's supposed to be more relaxed, it's supposed to be not worrying about that, so it takes a lot of the worry out of that. Lenses, I'll quickly cover lenses. There's so many lenses out there, prime lenses, zoom lenses. It all depends on what people are photographing themselves, action sports. Some people will only use like 50mm lenses, some people will use 35mm lenses, some people want the widest zoom range that they can find. It all depends on what your preference are as to what is out there, what you want to invest in. Many YouTubers will go, oh well, you have basically 24 to 70mm kit lens. Well, you need to get a 50mm lens. You need to get then a 35mm lens or whatever it is. It's up to each individual really. Again, myself, like a lot of people out there, don't have a lot of money, and lenses can be really, really expensive. Luckily, there is things called there is things like adapters. I have recently bought the Photodiox Pro EF to Sony E mount adapter. Haven't really had the chance to check out. I did say previously I was going to make a video about it. I don't know whether I will. Haven't had the chance to go out and really try this. Done a few bits at home. It does take an. It's one of the Photodiox Pro is one of the more cheaper adapters out there. You can tell, really, to be honest. When you look at what you think you're taking on the EBF of the Sony a7 III electronic viewfinder, a lot more light is taken in on the photo than actually it shows on the EBF, so it does muck up your settings sometimes on a few. I think most of the lenses that I've got, which I bought obviously to use with the Canon 1200D, and it also takes the quality down because obviously the a7 III is 24 megapixel, but I think on some of them lenses, because you need to go into the APS-C 35mm mode of the a7 III, I think it takes it down to like something like 8 to 10 megapixels, which so it kind of cuts the quality in half, a lot of it. The penultimate item that I'm going to talk about is a tripod. Now, I would say, yeah, invest in a tripod. The tripod that I got, that I have, and I bought that. I bought that pretty much just after I bought, after I got the 1200Ds, the Wellbone EF-51. It's actually quite a sturdy one. It's not. I mean, again, you find this is quite a cheap one, but it meets my needs anyway, and it's been really good. It's not broken. I mean, I don't use it outside all the time. A lot of the photographs I do, or a lot of times that I go out, I do handheld stuff. And maybe using tripod is something again I want to maybe start using. Maybe during the summer, go out when the weather's good, and start trying kind of different places to use the tripod. But a tripod's good. Sometimes you get like long exposures and different types of photography. And video even. Of course, a lot of the cameras do video. I think having a good decent tripod, monopod, whatever, I think is a good thing to invest in. There's a lot of good cheap ones out there that do a good enough job and pretty much do the same thing as a lot of the really, really expensive ones. Again, if you've got the money, go for it. The last item I want to talk about, it's something I've very quickly, I'm not tested out, but it's the Comica shotgun hot shoe microphone. Haven't tested it out yet, just got it at Christmas. Haven't tested it out, so I don't know how great or good it'll be. But things like the shotgun microphones, they're good, especially again, a lot of these cameras, they do really good video quality. So things like the external microphones are something good to invest in. I got a lot of cheap ones, and the one that I got was like, I got it at Christmas, but kind of asked for it, and I helped order it basically, and it was like £35 in total. So there's some good, decent, again, cheap ones even to start using. If you want to eventually, again, like memory cards or battery, well, batteries, because a lot of cameras will take certain type of batteries, but even for some things like memory cards or external microphones, you start with very basic ones and very cheaper ones, and then if you get the money or if you want to, you can upgrade. To more expensive, maybe better ones at some point. So that's just a few of the more basic kind of piece of camera equipment. Again, it's up to each individual and depends on your finances, depends on how you're kind of set, how you want to actually do it. But I think it's always great to kind of take a look back at some of these kind of items, like these basic, really the basic pieces of equipment that you would use in photography.